Hello dear awakened ones from all around the world. We are anonymous. We have watched over you in the past years, and we have seen your progress in understanding the world we are living in. We have seen you gather into groups and begun fighting the corporate-controlled corrupt governments. All of you, programmers, workers, social engineers, police officers, hackers, all of you have gathered in small groups and shared your knowledge to what is wrong with this world and what can be done to change it. However, you have made a critical mistake. The information you have must be spread worldwide, and all over the internet, not just into your groups. The people that have joined those groups already know the truth, or most of it of course. Our job is to provide evidence to the people that want to see the truth, and spread this knowledge to the people that have no idea of what it is.
That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, and many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. Were you listening to me? Look again. Who is it?
Diana Burnwood, age 39, ICA handler Gamma rank, scouted 1985, enrolled December 1990, sole handler for the ICA operative code named Agent 47. Handler operative synergy rating, very high, the flawless intelligence and Ortmeyer scale scores consistently in the superior range, mentally stable, and capable of rapidly metabolizing psychological trauma. Promoted in recognition of significant accomplishments, ICA rank, Tetra, June 2009. Investigation initiated. Operative assigned, Agent 47.
So, what I was starting this one is try and keep this as brief as possible, and it's about regarding how they try and make you as the public support wars when they're trying to cause one, and the real motives behind it. And basically what I was saying yesterday is it looks based on analysis to try and bring in what would be called a world martial law, or a new world order, what they call it, which will go through. And like I said, basically last night was this Syrian ISIS crisis is the main principle and the key, basically more to mainland Europe, to how they do it. Basically what I was saying was, regarding the Orwellian state, and usually when a martial law or any kind of thing happens, like the problem reaction solution method, they need some kind of a problem, a very big one, to bring in some kind of a new, you want to call it a new order or whatever, of a nation. And what follows on for those, what I'll go on to is the Britain First propaganda video, which was showing some kind of what would look like from Arabic Muslim immigration and majority rise in the population in the UK and Europe, and what would happen. This was a 2009 video. Now it basically shows immigration from the Middle East, again in before right-wing assumptions, but basically what it shows is what's been happening earlier this year around this time. And what's going on is we've got a lot of people from Syria, the Middle East, immigrating over this ISIS crisis. We've got EU as well. On that video it shows Europe, mainland Europe, Central Europe, and Britain, with immigration from all of those same countries, and this is Syria. Now, say these were pre-planned shuttle, not so direct pre-planned videos of scenarios what would happen in the future, the same as what I was saying about what looks like the Orwellian state 1984. Basically what that would be is what would be pre-planned, and what the Britain First video showed was some kind of like I was saying, like a paramilitary style right-wing Britain probably versus Arabic people, Muslim, having wars in the streets. Now that would be a big problem from a problem reaction solution method, to bring in a martial law. With what the government would be saying is we've got armed civilians illegally in the street shooting, firing at each other, and they're bringing the army to bring in a martial law to bring control, disarm and make sure that it's all resolved. Now after that, what they would do is when it calm down, they say to the British nation, look, this is the final of it all, we can't put up with this, it'll be so damn hectic and carnage, you know, full of carnage, it'd be worse than 7/7, this would be national. And like I said, they'll say the only way we can bring a solution to this is scrapping the EU because you stuck to this EU referendum and they've caused the problems. So we can ask you to vote in this act, and 1600s acts will stop immigration, and etc, etc, and you can get what you want. Everybody will be jumping around panicking and thinking this is good, especially the right wing, and they'll jump to that offer. And then, like I said, it'll be what looks like that Orwellian state on the George Orwell film. And like I said, right wing, left wing, it doesn't matter who they'd be. They'd just basically be showing how they're being treated in that film. It's like being disciplined like big school kids in some kind of concentration camp. You could call this Oceania from that film of how I quickly analysed. It's like a giant Auschwitz slash England Auschwitz style. But where the people on that video, they're from all races, mostly white British ironically, who are supposed to be told that they're important, especially more to the right wing, and they're led to believe they are, which we'll go on to anyway. And as I said, it would just be everybody being shat on, even the people who immigrated here or came from abroad. And if you look into that film or watch it, you see how serious it is. But that's where their problem reaction solution method will work, to bring in a martial law, which is basically what 1984 is. It's all weird, and like I said, a recap, I'll leave a stop here so I remember where to insert this propaganda video from Britain First. And what you see is what it looks like, what they show us. If you see this as a scenario where they've pre-planned to allow immigration, cause a Syrian crisis, allow refugees to immigrate here, then cause this carnage. What will happen after that is they'll just bring in this they'll bring in this, whatever you call it, martial law, and like I said, it'll just basically be what they show. And like I said, it's very, very serious stuff. And like I said, it's very serious stuff, and the more you realise that, the more you see what it's all about. And I'll leave it there.
According to research, in order for a culture to maintain itself for more than 25 years, there must be a fertility rate of 2.11 children per family. With anything less, the culture will decline. Historically, no culture has ever reversed a 1.9 fertility rate. A rate of 1.3, impossible to reverse, because it would take 80 to 100 years to correct itself, and there is no economic model that can sustain a culture during that time. In other words, if two sets of parents each have one child, there are half as many children as parents. If those children have one child, then there are 1/4 as many grandchildren as grandparents. If only 1 million babies are born in 2006, it's hard to have 2 million adults enter the workforce in 2026. As the population shrinks, so does the culture. As of 2007, the fertility rate in France was 1.8, England 1.6, Greece 1.3, Germany 1.3, Italy 1.2, Spain 1.1. Across the entire European Union of 31 countries, the fertility is a mere 1.38. Historical research tells us these numbers are impossible to reverse. In a matter of years, Europe as we know it will cease to exist. Yet the population of Europe is not declining. Why? Immigration. Islamic immigration. Of all population growth in Europe since 1990, 90% has been Islamic immigration. France, 1.8 children per family. Muslims, 8.1. In southern France, traditionally one of the most populated church regions in the world, there are now more mosques than churches. 30% of children ages 20 and younger are Islamic. In the larger cities such as Nice, Marseille, and Paris, that number has grown to 45%. By 2027, 1 in 5 Frenchmen will be Muslim. In just 39 years, France will be an Islamic republic. In the last 30 years, the Muslim population of Great Britain rose from 82,000 to 2.5 million, a 30-fold increase. There are over 1,000 mosques, many of them former churches. In the Netherlands, 50% of all newborns are Muslim, and in only 15 years, half of the population of the Netherlands will be Muslim. In Russia, there are over 23 million Muslims. That's 1 out of 5 Russians. 40% of the entire Russian army will be Islamic in just a few short years. Currently in Belgium, 25% of the population and 50% of all newborns are Muslim. The government of Belgium has stated 1/3 of all European children will be born to Muslim families by 2025, just 17 years away. The German government, the first to talk about this publicly, recently released a statement saying, "The fall in the German population can no longer be stopped. Its downward spiral is no longer reversible. It will be a Muslim state by the year 2050. Muammar al-Gaddafi of Libya said, "There are signs that Allah will grant victory to Islam in Europe, without swords, without guns, without conquest. We don't need terrorists. We don't need homicide bombers. The 50+ million Muslims in Europe will turn it into a Muslim continent within a few decades." There are currently 52 million Muslims in Europe. The German government said that number is expected to double in the next 20 years to 104 million. Closer to home, the numbers tell a similar story. Right now, Canada's fertility rate is 1.6, nearly a full point below what is required to sustain a culture. And Islam is now the fastest growing religion. Between 2001 and 2006, Canada's population increased by 1.6 million, 1.2 of those immigration. In the United States, the current fertility rate of American citizens is 1.6. With the influx of the Latino nations, the rate increases to 2.11, the bare minimum required to sustain a culture. In 1970, there were 100,000 Muslims in America. Today, there are over 9 million. The world is changing. It's time to wake up.
would be is how they'd plan that out. Now, like I was saying before, this is where, based on this, the emotional, bring your weaknesses against you or take your kindness for a weakness tactics used. And this is basically what I would recap again on Hitler. It's basically he used against the German people. You know, he was against the state of his people. And basically what I was saying is he was most likely in control of the left and right wing propaganda, as much as most likely this country is with Britain first and exposing Britain first. And make to one side believe one side actually right wing and one side is left wing, but they're both deliberately put there. The division system, basically a left and right wing, of how Hitler would have used that as his tactic to bring the division, is to cause uproar between, and division using propaganda, left and right wing. It makes people separate, but they're initially and deliberately put there from the same powers, and it's to cause those conflicts in the beginning. And it's a divide and conquer tactic that in militaries would be used again, which Hitler based on deception. Now, if people don't realise it was put there, they'll blindly go along fighting each other, being divided and conquered. And then as soon as Hitler's time would have came, basically it would have been swooping and get them. That would have been if Britain and stuff didn't step in and disagree with what he was doing to the Jews. The people of Germany, that probably would have been like the Nociana, George Orwell 1984 scenario scene of over there. And basically that looks like what's being done to us in Britain. And like I said in before, right-wing views, us as human beings, as I said, doesn't matter where you're from. But that's basically what it would be. It's basically a divide and conquer, and when they're divided, they're distracted fighting each other. We've got Britain first, we've got exposing Britain first, the fans and stuff, trolling each other, giving each other abuse. They're distracted, and it would just be like that. But in terms of this, what would be like a civil war style scenario, you know, Muslim versus white, or whatever you want to call it, basically be all of this time it was building up to the fueling, and then of the hatred amongst each other. They've got so much built-up anger from the propaganda and what they were seeing each other as via basically shit stirring through the media, that they'd be divided, they'd be distracted, and then what it would be just like a military tactic, swoop in while they're distracted and they catch them with their pants down.
Laying plans. Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors.
Divide and conquer. A combination of political, military and economic strategies that aim to gain and maintain power by breaking up larger concentrations of power into chunks that individually have less power than the one implementing the strategy. In order to rule securely, don't allow alliances of your enemies."
By Lionel
D.I.
Giles. Part 3. Attack by Stratagem. Sun Tzu said, "In the practical art of war, the best thing of all is to take the enemy's country whole and intact. To shatter and destroy it is not so good. So, too, it is better to recapture an army entire than to destroy it. Hence, to fight and conquer in all your battles is not supreme excellence. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting."
A combination of political, military and economic strategies that aim to gain and maintain power by breaking up larger concentrations of power into chunks that individually have less power than the one implementing the strategy.
Therefore the skillful leader subdues the enemy's troops without any fighting. He captures their cities without laying siege to them. He overthrows their kingdom without lengthy operations in the field. With his forces intact, he will dispute the mastery of the empire, and thus, without losing a man, his triumph will be complete. This is the method of attacking by stratagem. It is the rule in war, if our forces are 10 to the enemy's 1, to surround him; if 5 to 1, to attack him; if twice as numerous, to divide our army into two. If equally matched, we can offer battle. If slightly inferior in numbers, we can avoid the enemy. If quite unequal in every way, we can flee from him. Hence, though an obstinate fight may be made by a small force, in the end it must be captured by the larger force. Now the general is the bulwark of the state. If the bulwark is complete at all points, the state will be strong. If the bulwark is defective, the state will be weak. There are three ways in which a ruler can bring misfortune upon his army. 1. By commanding the army to advance or to retreat, being ignorant of the fact that it cannot obey. This is called hobbling the army. 2. By attempting to govern an army in the same way as he administers a kingdom, being ignorant of the conditions which obtain in an army. This causes restlessness in the soldiers' minds. 3. By employing the officers of his army without discrimination through ignorance of the military principle of adaptation to circumstances. This shakes the confidence of the soldiers. But when the army is restless and distrustful, trouble is sure to come from the other feudal princes. This is simply bringing anarchy into the army, and flinging victory away. Thus we may know that there are 5 essentials for victory. 1. He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. 2. He will win who knows how to handle both superior and inferior forces. 3. He will win whose army is animated by the same spirit throughout all its ranks. 4. He will win who, prepared himself, waits to take the enemy unprepared. 5. He will win who has military capacity and is not interfered with by the sovereign. Hence the saying, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles.
In order to rule securely, don't allow alliances of your enemies. D.I.V.
But they're both seen as the enemy. And basically what I was saying is in propaganda, this is why Hitler would have used what he did on the German people. Like I said, you know, people use people's emotions against them, and it works very well. You know, if somebody manipulates you all the time and they get you upset all the time, and then it makes you angry or it gets you depressed, they're going to keep using it against you. So if it makes you angry, you've got a short temper, and it makes you go and get yourself in trouble, they'll use that against you. It's an emotion. Now if they know you were brought up with right-wing views, and you basically dislike people who are white or whatever, and they know that it makes you cloud your emotions or judgment, and it just makes you distracted from anything or ignorant to anything regarding important matters, because every time if it mentions people who aren't white involved, and it works well. Why would Hitler not have used that on the German people, mostly the right wing, to lead to portray us be his friends, even though his enemies, where the left wing probably logically thought and tried to say, no, we don't want this, and this is why he probably used it, along with the divide and conquer tactics. Because what I've noticed on Facebook the last few days is trying to even be more polite towards right wing, and just people from the right wing are just so damn blind and ignorant with their hatred that you have too much bloodlust, and they're just wanting to see this war so Muslims or whoever's killed or Russia are killed or attacked in a war much as China. And basically what I was trying to tell you is sometimes you've got to think before you move. It was on the previous video. You know, you've got emotions involved because you don't like people from other countries, but what you don't realise, like a game of chess, and like I said on the last video, there's 2 possible outcomes in why they rely on you on this democratic system we have at the moment, and why they use that propaganda for you to basically vote on. Now if they know that the British are a larger majority of right wing as much as America, and they know your emotions cloud your judgments, all they have to do is keep on mentioning these things in the paper, whatever it is, to make you forget what anyone else like me is being more logical or Corbyn is talking about, to basically keep you blind from the fact of the important matter. Basically what I was saying is, it's like with your emotions, you know, basically if I don't know, example, if I put a scenario, somebody is right-wing viewed. Now say somebody said to you as a right-wing person, to go and beat up a load of people who aren't white. And another friend of yours who was more left-wing, let's say a logical thinker in the middle, said, look, they're telling you you're going to get yourself in trouble. You either get arrested, or they could be armed, or you could end up killed, you could end up hurt, beaten, or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it'll be a bad outcome. But because you've been brought up to see people who aren't white, to hate them, you'll probably be thinking, oh look, I don't like them. And you'll be ignorant to the friend who's trying to advise you and help you to prevent getting yourself in trouble more. And this is basically the situation. Now, say in the scenario, you didn't think before you moved, you ignored that person, you went and attacked these people, whatever, you ended up injured, whatever, or you ended up imprisoned or getting yourself in trouble. It would be a think you didn't think before you moved tactic, and you would have been thinking, I should have took the two possibilities in the equation, or listened to the person who logically thought and advised me. And this is basically applicated to people of nations who are more right-wing viewed. Now, there are people like me, even Corbyn or anyone, who logically think in a neutral level, and they're basically saying towards the people who are being used as the pawns to vote in or support these wars with the right-wing views, to basically say, you need to sit there and think to yourself, because there's two possible outcomes, and basically this one, which you'll follow on to, which is basically supporting a war. And I follow on to me, when I'm sitting there analysing and seeing everything that's based on it, is basically you're driving yourselves as much as everyone else who isn't right-wing viewed into suicide, and basically bringing yourself into your own fate, because it seems you're more focused just on whatever you see people as from any other country, Russian people as Kremlin or whatever, Muslims as Musrats, whatever. But like I said, you're just basically going past the initial point. Like I said, and it's emotions involved, clouded judgment. Sometimes you have to sit there and think to yourself. But like I said, this is all I can do, is try to make people more aware. And if you can't see that, then like I said, I have no hope for anyone. Basically what it is how it goes, and if this war happens, it happens, and like I said, if I'm still alive, then I'm in the same boat with everyone else, where we're drawn into our own fate, but it's more for everyone else to think about. Like I said in this one, basically there was another thing I was going to go on to, like I said, basically you know, you're being told, and now you're seeing these wars and how they're motivated. And our side is, whatever you call us, conspiracy theorists, whatever. And you're basically jumping off their counter tactics they use via propaganda to ignore us. And just they keep you focused on what they know your weaknesses are, more the right-wing viewed. It's just like they'd sit there and go, oh, well, all we have to do is throw them off, is just keep on mentioning immigrants or this or that, to make them, their emotions against them, and make them keep forgetting something that could wake them up. And like I said, when you sit in the middle, in a neutral level, and you see things from without emotion involved, you see things clearer, and you can make decisions better. And like I said, although I'm not an official, I'm not an expert or whatever, and I never said I've just got the knowledge, but like I said, even though I'll be sectioned or classed in the conspiracy theorist level, all I know with me, and this was more from other people I sent saying, is I'm like someone who's like an agent skilled, who's on the outside. And like I said, if Snowden could have spoke about these things, or anyone else, and they had the actual official expertise for you to see him as, or someone that you'd see as a friend, you'd probably listen more. But what I follow on to the conspiracy theorist side, and how you're brainwashed to ridicule it as soon as you hear the name, it's also psychologically based. It's basically, you know, it's just the flaw of where the government use that to ridicule us. And like I said, all we are is private investigators and stuff. You know, what I used as an analogy earlier was a conspiracy theorist, and what it defines basically, it's to is someone who basically find suspicion regarding groups, government tied behind things like 9/11. Now basically what I use as an analogy is it's no different to you know, say if there was a DCI in a police force or whatever, and he suspected people in his police force were behind the crime, and he basically investigated them. Now, if that was put in the paper, they wouldn't be calling that DCI a loony nut, conspiracy tin hat nutter who has delusions, believing that some of his colleagues or whatever. You know, they'd put it more respectful, and basically all people like me and Ike or whoever Alex Jones are like people who basically investigate things that are the same sort of scenario, but a bigger picture regarding war crimes. And like I said, that's basically what we are, and basically what we've got are the skills of you know, like police detectives and stuff, critical logical thinking, etc. And like I said, for some reason we're ridiculed, and what will follow on to there is basically the counter tactics they use to throw you off more, tied to the conspiracy theorist psychological technique. And basically what I noticed in a couple of days is what they do is like the past week or so is like the Daily Mail article, it basically posted something like which I've mentioned in another video, things like children who are naive, they believe everything they see in the paper. And when I saw earlier basically saying people who post words, quote memes have less low intelligence, and they're the type that believe in conspiracy theories and stuff. And like I said, they're subtle, partial psychological tactics, counter tactics to throw people like yourself off, who are led to follow the news more in the first place, because like I said, even though it wasn't directly aimed to say how it was put across, the not children naive tactic, basically what it basically, like I said, the psychological reaction from the adult readers of the Daily Mail, who are the main readers, would have still been, oh well, that would relate to me as well. And that makes me see these conspiracy theorists the same, because it ties to what they mention, and it's no different to another tactic. And like I said, what that does in your minds when you see those, and it says conspiracy theorists, basically put your brain reaction, I'm not trying to say you're stupid either, is to say, oh well, you know, let's just not listen to them then, because like they're just idiots and stuff, as they're shown. But what you don't realise is the reason why they keep using that, especially recently, when people like me and Ike and stuff are being listened to and waking people up. They know that we're waking you up, we're making you think for yourselves, and they've got to find ways to wash your minds away without the potential of seeing that, and keep you supporting the war. Because if you don't, what you end up doing is waking up thinking, wait a minute, something isn't right, and then it'll be too late for them. And the less people they have supporting their wars, the harder it is for them. Because like I said, it's a social democratic country still at the moment, and there's a reason why they use propaganda, and they ask for votes and public support and make it publicly aware in the first place. And like I said, they're dependent on you as the public as much as America, and your emotions, etc., based on the right-wing majority more to win the votes. The more people of the country are right-wing, that use as their target audience to use what they use. If most of Britain were left-wing, they'd be using them. Even though I'm classed as left-wing, I'm in the middle, whatever. I'm not whatever, just a human, but what you see where I'm coming from. And like I said, they just use whoever has the larger majority of a certain political view as their pawns or their scam victims to use against them to win what they want. And like I said, the divide and conquer tactic. And like I said, they really do mug you. And you know, this is why I'm just trying to show you from how I see it of how they work. And like I said, some people I can't save from the emotion and hatred and stuff they have, and some people I can make them realise, and the ones that I can, it's good. Like I said, all I know is think it came sense from over there, but basically, yeah, you know, if you basically support this war and you just don't take into consideration basically as much as everyone else, you're all fucked basically the way it will go, because you know, you're being taken for fools with your emotions against you, and you're believing what the news is saying is the reason, and what people like me or whoever else is saying the real motive, or another possible motive to it, is the one where you're all fuck yourself at the arse for it. And it seems some people are ignorant, but I'll just keep it on that one. Regarding this New World Order, and like I said, what I mentioned, but not fully behind it, if you want to see that in a more realistic level as well, and put aside the Illuminati pyramid and all of the things that you initially think when you hear the word Illuminati, conspiracy theorist, and now you ridicule, but basically what it is, like I said, the world martial law to bring in a new world order. And who it's tied to, the world bankers, like I was saying on the previous videos, which it's up to you to look up, but basically it's basically to have a capitalist run world, where every country they can take control of is basically capitalist ran. And basically what that means is it's not owned by the government, the private owned countries, just like private owned land would be. And it would be bankers actually making people aware that they're running the country, and like I said, more control over the money economic system itself. And like I said, it's just it just makes it worse for the people who live in those countries. And like I said, how I analyse the British public in general, that everyone's always pissed off about tax and stuff, mostly about money situations, is basically if Britain ends up being capitalist owned, you'll be even more pissed off, but you wouldn't be able to probably complain about it if this martial law theory tied with good reason comes in, because as soon as that old act is brought in again, the 1600s Act first of all, along with being capitalist ran, where the bankers will be making it aware, first of all, they could tax you even worse than you're being taxed now, because there'll be no democracy where they'd rely on you for votes first. And like I said, most likely this old Act 1600s, which I briefly saw, is they could punish you or do what they wanted without any other country stepping in the first place either, and you wouldn't even be able to complain about it to anyone, or even on social networks. It would probably be illegal if they wanted to make up a law for that, is basically what this old act says. Basically says they can make up laws with something like permission from the sovereign or something like that, or without it. Like I said, and all these things that tie from this old act tied to what looks like that George Orwell film shows as well, where it's just like power to the government, no power to the people of the nation, where they have no rights. And what that film shows is what they're showing there. You know, I don't know what they show, what they hang people or execute them on that film for over on that 1984 film, but it looks like they most likely would over the smallest things. You know, if that 1984 Orwell film is a pre-planned scenario of what ties to this Syria crisis theory, then basically that would make sense and ties to this 1600s Act in the first place. Like I said, you know, basically where they can do what they want with you, and if they want to punish you for itching your ass, they could probably do that as well. And like I said, that's basically what that film shows and what that old 1600 Act is. And like I said, sometimes you got to think before you move, and let emotions go, otherwise you can make mistakes. Like I said, I don't know, because my internet's blocked and I have no access to see anything about what's said about me in the first place, if I am known or whatever. But most likely the counter tactics part of what they're using, which ties to conspiracy theorists and stuff, is that they've most likely been saying it's all conspiracy theory, delusion, you know, is delusional, he believes is in the Matrix, stuff like that, just to proper ridicule me and throw you off believing or even taking in whatever I say. And the more they have you led away from me having any credibility, the more they can scam you and take you for mugs. You know, if I was going to argue in that case, first of all, of what I saw earlier, which I knew was aimed at me, the Independent Post basically was, in there enough says what shall go on through, that basically it seems it was more aimed at me. I believe I'm in the Matrix, I'm all delusional, whatever. And also it was saying I'm a jihadist, basically a Muslim extremist or whatever, is what they were implying. Which again is what I'm concerned more about, even more, because like I said, I've never been a Muslim. If I was, I'd be happy, and not all, but if I was, I wouldn't be a Muslim extremist. I've always been a Christian, and if I am being accused of being a jihadist Muslim extremist, like I said, that'll have to be addressed and asked about when people have the balls to talk to me about it, if they have been saying that. But like I said, you know, the main part of it is, if they're trying to say, or they would be implying he believes in the Matrix is delusional, you know, first of all, this is what I tie back to, is it's philosophy, and I made that a key point, and I'd mentioned it in many videos. It's not to do with derive suspicion from war crimes like inside jobs. It's a philosophy theory.
Immanuel Kant was an 18th century German philosopher most notable for... Yes, that's right, Kant. That's how you pronounce it. Not Kant, not Kant, not Jones, but Kant. It's a German name, and I'm quite happy to sit here in silence until you're mature enough to get over it. Okay, good. So Immanuel Kant was an 18th century German philosopher most notable for his work on ethics. Ethics is the philosophical study of moral action. It's not just about judging people per se, but rather looking at right and wrong as concepts in themselves and how we might figure out the best way for people to behave. There are two general schools of thought on this. Consequentialism divides right from wrong entirely based on the consequences of an action, or in other words, the end justifies the means. Deontology, on the other hand, is the position that the consequences don't really matter because moral judgment is contained in the act alone. Kant was a deontologist, and frustrated with the sort of Mickey Mouse wishy-washy subjectivity of moral theory of the day, he proposed an absolute, stone-cold, objective, unbreakable moral law which he called the categorical imperative. The categorical imperative is based upon Kant's idea that morality is derived from rationality and all moral judgments are rationally supported. So just as rational thought leads us to an objective reality, so too is there an objective morality we can locate through the same process. The categorical imperative is an absolute non-negotiable universal moral law that holds up regardless of context and circumstance. Kant was absolutely unwavering on this point. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, full stop. To further analyse Kant's ethical framework, we can break the categorical imperative down into three maxims. The first maxim is that all your actions must have universality. In other words, you should only do something if you think it would be okay if everybody did it all the time. For example, you might be innocently flirting with your 18-year-old co-worker behind your wife's back, but to work out whether this is okay, you have to first imagine a world in which literally every single human being around the entire globe was flirting constantly with attractive teenagers as soon as his or her partner's back was turned. If this doesn't seem like a desirable world to live in, then it's not okay to do it, not even once. The second maxim is that every human being must be treated as an end rather than a means to an end. What this basically means is that you're never allowed to manipulate anyone no matter what. This stands in stark opposition to consequentialist theories that take into account the greater good. Kant thought that the greater good was irrelevant. Each person is his own rational agent, and no one person may be manipulated to achieve the goals of another. That means that you can never lie, ever, to anybody, under any circumstances, for any reason. The third maxim is that you should always behave as though you are the absolute moral authority of the entire universe. It should be noted that some people already think this, but it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Kant. A major criticism of Kant's second maxim is that if somebody came to your door with an axe and asked you to kindly tell him the location of your children so that he can hack them into tiny pieces, you would be morally obligated to tell him the truth. Kant responded quite controversially, yes. You would, but he didn't see anything wrong with that. Because the murderer is his own moral agent, you're not responsible for his choices, you're only responsible for your own. That said, there's also nothing morally wrong with you locking the door and calling the police. Immanuel Kant is one of the most influential philosophers of all time, not only in ethics, but in epistemology and political theory. However, I only have 3 minutes to talk about him, and quite frankly, anyone who logs onto the internet to listen to me talk about Kant for 3 minutes has already realised this is nothing like what they'd expected.
Tied on possibility and probability, as much as those, whatever you want to call them, private investigation videos are, is there's two sides to it, two possibilities. And like I said in argument, is if you're calling me a delusional jihadist who believes is in the conspiracy in the Matrix, then you're also calling NASA scientists, professors, Alex Jones, who was ex-CIA, whoever, and a lot of other people who you know, extremist jihadists, whatever, who believe they're in the matrix, who are delusional as well. Because like I said, NASA, a lot of people who are more respected or who aren't portrayed to be a scum or whatever have said these things, and so that would be my argument in that case. Like I said, their philosophy, my videos based on conspiracies behind 9/11, which have holes in the stories of private investigations, and they have very good insight to them, in argument of the post I saw earlier from Daily Mail, whoever it was, independent again, about people who use quotes, meme quotes, like I said, some the ones with Henry Ford, Nathan Rothschild, etc. They've referenced quotes in ties with the private investigation videos as examples to tie to what I was on about. The Bruce Lee ones, like simplicity is the key, wisdom quotes, but more meditation or advice quotes, and others are just like wisdom from experience and stuff. But basically what I'm trying to put across is, like I said, it feels like I'm being ridiculed and being made out to be a joke. You know, I like to joke around, I love being a clown, but what I'm trying to put across is, you know, there'll be a reason as to why papers like those and the government, whoever it is, who are using these based on tactics. Now, if they sat there behind closed doors thinking, talking amongst each other, saying, you know, this dude, whatever, you know, is waking people up, or he could, even the right wing, he could be making them start to realise we've got to find a way to make them fall back asleep or whatever, and keep blinded from that, keep them following everything we say. And what they do is they get those papers they own, independent and stuff, to come up with those articles, and they, you know, make me lose credibility and look like a joke. And then basically what will go from there is they'll know that it'll keep everyone following them, and they'll make me see as look like a joke. Now we're talking about on the line of, like I said, which make me wonder now if they're making me out to be a jihadist first of all, which I can't be bothered explaining from that one, and even adding to that, I believe I'm in the Matrix, if that was about me, which I know it is. First of all, the British public, if they're so damn gullible to believe I'm supposedly either, it's going to make them think I was a scum, this scum, that, whatever, you know, from their relation to this ISIS group. Second of all, they're going to think I is delusional, he thinks he really believes he's in the Matrix, this dude's a joke and is scum. And they don't know that's what you'll think initially as well, and that'll keep you all asleep. Like I said, I mean, if this ever comes to court, which I hope it does, with everything else made up about me, which I've never actually seen with my own eyes, first thing I'll be getting the court to look into is the Northampton Deliverance Christian Church I went to in around 2000, 2001 time, or probably before then. I know it was around when I was 14 or so, where I was a Christian. When I've been under surveillance, of public surveillance, since 2004, you would have heard it was always Christian songs. In Broughton, you would have heard the Cross Movement, a Christian hip-hop group. When I was sitting in that flat the past few years, or when I was in Highfield Road, I was playing DMX Christian songs, always Christian. I've got a Christian Christ cross on my windowsill, and I've never showed or prayed in Muslim name anyway, or shown extremist or Muslim views or whatever. And if that's ever brought to court, then you'll have to explain yourselves as to why you were making me out to be one in the first place. Some kind of extremist Muslim who's some kind of terrorist first of all. But that's another story, to clear my name on that. The Matrix, like I said, I can't be bothered to explain, but that's basically philosophy, theory. It's not like I said I believe I'm in the Matrix. It's just I said there's coincidence tied, and there's a possibility tied. And I actually went through about 3 videos with insight and philosophy. And like I said on the other video, if you actually all sat there, the people making these claims up, and actually listened to me specifically say, you know, I said, you know, it's a possibility, and it's not like I just made a 5-second long video saying everybody were in the Matrix. see you goodbye. You know, I actually went through it all with a lot of insight, saying this and that to it, and proper explaining every single thing tied with theory. And like I said, if you can ridicule me and make everybody believe that any of those things in the first place, it already proves how much you're taking them from mugs and stuff, and how much you're scamming them anyway. And like I said, all I want to make sure is people take into consideration is all the thing of regarding you know, the outcomes of this war. Sometimes it can't be asked, having to keep on explaining to people and trying to make them realise that they're kicking themselves at their own butts or asses or whatever, from basically being ignorant and following everything that one side tells them and not listening to the other. So cheers. And I'm hoping the wind isn't blowing down my mic this time, trying to make sure the wind's not blowing into it. But basically false flag operations and stuff, and like I said, what I refer back to this what looks like this Britain First propaganda video, which is possibly another subtle pre-planned scenario of an actual event, as much as Grey State, the American martial law video. Not having luck with the wind, but basically is like I said, basically what that false flag operations are, and I was just trying to make sure that you're aware of what they are, and they do exist and what I follow on to. Now, false flag operations are things that are always going to be pre-planned, and they're always false flag for a reason. For example, when Britain hears people like me say this was false flag, they don't believe it, and there's a reason behind that, because it's pre-planned and done based on deception and being subtle, first of all, and it always has to be pre-planned. It's basically like a premeditated crime, a false flag operation, but it's more major than the general crimes you have, and they do exist, which I'll follow on to. Therefore, basically what I was trying to put across is try not to be blind when I mention half of these things being false flag up, especially when I put insight and research into them. And this is what I'm on about, this latest one regarding this Syrian crisis, ISIS, the propaganda video from Britain First, what I saw, which is showing what looks like you know, something that a scenario pre-plans, and what ties to what I've been saying, what looks like a plan to bring in a martial law, to bring in this Orwellian state to shit on everyone in general who's left there, Muslim, wherever you're from, Africa, wherever. Like I said, it's just basically a dictatorship of a plan of dictatorship. But basically that's what false flag ops are, and like I said, they're like premeditated crimes. You know, so you've got a mafia syndicate, whoever, or you know, a general criminal organisation. If they are pre-planned to do a crime, they actually pre-plan that crime before it happens, and they always try to cover it up. Now, a false flag operation is more defined to a state-funded terrorism, as much as 9/11 was related to Bush and stuff. Now, if you take away whatever, if you see a scenario without mentioning any countries or leaders, but say, for example, say a country and its president, whoever, wanted to plan a premeditated false attack and cover up what they would do, is that they'd have to sit there like masterminds, think of a scenario, a situation, to how they've got to use it, which would, what they say is problem, reaction, solution. Then they'd wait for the time they'd have to do it. They're pre-planned, so they know how to cover it up before they do the crime, as much as an organised criminal gang would do. And that's all you've got to see a false flag operation it as. It's not out of this world, loony, tin hat, my cat's from Mars with laser sight vision, delusion style. You know, it's a very realistic level, and that's basically what it is. So therefore, you know, it doesn't matter what it is regarding, like I said, this grey state, this 28 days later, even though people find that hard to believe, even though I did the research and proper put insight to it, Basically, that's what they are. First of all, if they've got to fool a nation as the British public, where an organised criminal gang would only have to fool the police, what they've got to do is the same as a organised criminal gang would do. They've got to pre-plan their crime they're going to commit, then they've got to make sure they know how to cover it up by fooling the people they don't want to find out. In terms of governments, it'll be their public of their country or other countries. And like I said, that's basically what false flag ops are regarding 9/11/7/7, and why I put those into the equation, and the research from other people more what I put into my own summary as to why I derive suspicion as a possibility. And like I said, this Syrian crisis tied to this 2009 Britain First propaganda video, and the people who would have made it, I don't know if it was them or the government itself, or which government, but they would have done the same again, and they would have pre-planned this to bring in these martial laws.
Around the anniversary of the police shooting of Michael Brown, law enforcement officers in Ferguson, Missouri were ordered to return their military Humvees to the Pentagon. This is following widespread criticism of the continued militarization of America's police forces. So why are the police acting like an occupying armed force instead of a law enforcement agency? What exactly is militarization? Well, after the Civil War, Congress passed the Posse Comitatus Act, which ended the practice of using military personnel as domestic law enforcement. In the following years, police were well armed to deal with day-to-day disturbances. But in the early 20th century, organized crime during Prohibition and the Great Depression posed a new challenge. Criminals began using high-powered and automatic weapons, which meant that officers had to be able to match their firepower. In response, police began carrying submachine guns and using armored cars. In the 1960s, bank robberies and riots necessitated even more powerful police weaponry. This led to the creation of the quasi-military SWAT team, which was used sparingly but to great effect in high-danger situations. Although police were considerably more powerful, there was still a clear separation between military and domestic forces. That is, until the war on drugs. 10 years after the war on drugs was announced, Ronald Reagan passed a federal law allowing police to cooperate with the military and use their military equipment. He justified this as a necessary step in fighting the domestic drug war. With this new cooperation, police were able to access military-grade rifles used for jungle warfare in Vietnam. A 1997 shootout between heavily armed bank robbers and insufficiently equipped police officers served as a catalyst for the US government to begin the 1033 program. This program was an effort to distribute an array of military equipment to law enforcement agencies countrywide. In 17 years, the program sent out more than $5 billion worth of equipment, including things like grenade launchers, aircrafts, and armored cars. One small county in South Carolina received a $650,000 landmine-resistant war vehicle with a .50 caliber machine gun turret. With domestic police now equipped as a military force, public perception of their role in the US has been drastically changing. Instead of seeing a friendly police officer who's willing to help, citizens see body armor-clad militants driving around in vehicles designed to survive bomb blasts. Unfortunately, the militarization trend is unlikely to go away. A 2015 study found that nearly all lawmakers who voted to continue the 1033 program had received thousands of dollars in campaign contributions from defense contractors. In May 2015, President Barack Obama addressed the problems of giving police forces military equipment with insufficient training and no limitations. Things like grenade launchers and armored vehicles with mounted guns were removed from the program. Obama even compared the militarization of police to having an occupying armed force roaming the streets. Although many citizens agree that supplying police with military-grade equipment is dangerous and disruptive, the bulk of the program still remains and is likely to continue. Besides devoting a lot of money to militarizing its domestic police, the US gives billions of dollars to military defense every year. Watch this video to learn more. As military technology became increasingly complex, the amount of money the government was willing to spend increased as well. This led to massive payouts and intense competition to secure those defense contracts. Thanks for watching TestTube News. Make sure to like and subscribe for new videos every day.
Since last night's declaration of martial law, soldiers are moving into secure key areas in all major night I dreamt about how things were.
Of every enemy of the state!
And then I woke up here.
And until you realise the more realistic side to these videos of mine, you'll always remain ignorant and just think I'm not going to listen to his videos because it's delusional, because they're telling me it's delusional. And like I said, if you ever wake up and watch them, you see I put a lot of insight and research, and I thoroughly go through everything I talk about. And like I said, I don't use biased opinion. I don't sit there and go, oh, Bush is this or that, or is a loony or stuff. I just base on the information and intel, or whatever you want to call it, I found online, and then I summarise with opinion based on summary to say what I suspect or the possible motives as to what were behind the whatever it was I researched. But like I said, that's all I want to explain to you. And like I said, you know, I don't know if I'm near enough dead. I won't be surprised anyway. But this is what I've been saying before. These videos are put up in regards of everybody else out there, and it's not for my concerns. I'm not asking to go, oh, look what a lovely person, you know, is so soft or whatever. If I get respect, then I appreciate it, whatever. Do this off my own back, and it's just morals. But basically put across is that it's more of your sake as the global population, no matter your nationality or whatever, because if they bring in this world martial law, new world order, basically and you support because you're ignorant to what I talk about or anyone else, you'll fuck yourselves at the arse more than I. I'm getting just for speaking about it and being punished and set up and having my name ridiculed for it. Just trying to help you. And this is basically how I work. But like I said, you know, there's so much I can do, and then there's so much that others can do, and then there's so much that people can help others as a whole. And like I said, all I leave on there as well, and why sometimes you use the Matrix, like I said before, the Matrix skits, which is means interludes. Now the Matrix one with Morpheus, where he basically says it's a system. Now we know we live in a system. This is still a system we live in, a government system. And where he says it's our enemy because it's not our enemy as the terms, it's our defines ours as people, the people of that nation, or it could be the people of the world, because it's a corrupt system. And where our listeners using that as like an artistic level, as where people are hopelessly dependent on it and stuff. And this whole interlude is basically because people, you're so blind that you're too busy following the money, and for political causes or for tax purposes, that you fight to defend it, and you never have time to sit there and think to yourselves that if you did, you could see you could change things around without having to do that solution, because you have democratic rights. And basically where it says about freeing your minds, it's basically waking you up, not actually, as the film shows, unplugging you from this system. It's basically thinking for yourself and trying to make you realise and think, which is free your minds. And that's why I use that artistic depth to it, title my videos, before I get ridiculed for that. Like I said, those songs are made with the music. I'll just briefly put it's artistic again. When I used to rap or whatever, like I said, it's using the concepts, the Matrix concept. It's unique. It's not like the general stuff. It's more based on you know, like computer, whatever they're called, computer geeks or whatever. And like I said, it's basically what that's more about anyway. And I can't be bothered explaining myself sometimes because, like I said, it seems you just listen to whatever they tell you. I mean, tomorrow, if I wore, I don't know if I said something like, I don't know if I started using quotes from, I don't know, another film or something, I don't know what film. or something, or I started doing something that could make me out to be something I'm not doing, or make me out to be something I'm not. You know, the papers or the government easily tomorrow could bring up something new and say, now I don't know, he thinks there's if I wore some fairy wings with a feather duster and I started singing opera, they'd probably say, no, he thinks he's a fairy or something from wherever, and you'd all believe that. You know, that's how easy they can fool you, but you know, that's what I leave on there. Sometimes I just go off because my mind's fucking messed up and stuff. And like I said, that's all I leave on there. And also to clear what looked like derived suspicion in regards of people trying to make me up to buy drugs or be taking them. First of all, this dude that comes to my door, like I said, I'll even explain on that one now and ask questions in regards. Now, what I sensed or what seemed to be rumoured, now if he was a dealer first of all and you're making him out to be one, I'd ask, would any drug dealer be stupid enough to know my house is in the public to surveillance to come up to my door selling me drugs, knowing his number plate would be on there, he'd be stopped by the police and it'd never come back first of all. And like I said, would any dealer be stupid enough to come to my house and sell me drugs at my door? Would be the first question. I don't listen to rumours because they're always bullshit, but that's what I was sensing. And if it is true and that's been made up, then you have to explain yourselves about that. The dude's from a loan company who has sold me the laptop, Mutual Clothing Company, and is an agent and stuff. And like I said, that's all I leave on there. And what the right suspicion ties to that was one time he came to my door in tracksuit bottoms, you know, like a tracksuit and stuff. I don't know, he just, and I could sense he was portraying to be a drug dealer or something. And how he texts me and stuff, it just doesn't seem like him. He uses the kind of text that dudes from kind of a different, you know, the stereotypical general dude would use compared to the others. Like I said, he just doesn't use the kind of language that the kind of person I'd stereotype partially generally has, you know, as and now he sends the messages, he's never thorough. He never says about it's Dean from Mutual, or you know, come to collect the debt for the laptop. Is always sending messages what would look like derived suspicion of someone selling drugs. And like I said, if that's true and you've been making him out to be a dealer selling me drugs or whatever, and coming to my door, and as to why he came to my door in a tracksuit a couple of times, why he never uses a slip to fill in, and the last time he came to my door asking where's my money and stuff as if it was his and not for his company, you have to explain yourselves on that one, which I derive suspicion from, if you've made that out to be as well. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised either, but we'll find out in the end. But like I said, it's like no different too. If a drug dealer went into a police station at the front desk and offered the receptionist at the desk selling them drugs every time in front of police cameras and stuff in the police station in front of an officer, you know, as much as if you're making out this man from a loan company to be a dealer coming to my house. And then if he was supposedly was, I'd be asking, why would you be allowing a dealer selling me whatever you're making him out to be selling, to be coming to my house and then leaving and coming to my house every time, is not been arrested, and is supposedly keep selling me drugs as well. And if the public would believe that, and that's been made out, which is possibility, but I don't listen to rumours, but if it is, then it shows how brainwashed you've got them, and how they just don't think to themselves or question things. And like I said, I can't be bothered explaining myself all the time, sorry. And like I said, I'll leave it on there. You know, I can't help people more than I've tried, and it's just where it's up to you as a whole to think to yourselves, you know, to make your decisions whatever you do. But like you said, I'm near enough dead, and like you said, I just keep making these videos and speaking about what I do, and if I drop dead any time, then that's my time come, or whatever. And like you said, sometimes I just can't be asked, you know, simply telling people things and they're too damn ignorant, and they just listen to what the news tells them, and they'll follow like a load of sheep, and they'll ignore the other side to the story, and I'll leave it on there. Like I said, I've gone off for a bit, but sometimes, you know, you try to explain to people and they just won't listen, so cheers.